Good morning. Well, let's get some charts up here. And so I said in the slide there, it's not the best pattern for a rally. Well, let's explain that. Because it seems like it's rallying to me. Certainly gapping up. Okay. So things are kind of messy. Last week we talked about this bottoming pattern that was happening. And part of our discussions last week were turns. The best turns usually take 2 or 3 days to shape up. Well, that's what we got. It was the down. We're just looking at the futures here, but down bar, up bar, started moving up there, and now it's moving up. And why is that? Well, because when you have 2 or 3 days, you get stabilization. I want white there. Let's get this nice green. You get stabilization, and sometimes you get a retest like that, and some consolidation, and then up. And part of our discussion was, the correction on the 65-minute chart. Those 2 or 3 days move prices away from those reference points. It makes it a little easier for them to go up through that. So that's what we have. Now, you've got a pivot high up here. There's a little less of an issue for those. Why? Because it corrected down and it came all the way back up. It cleared that one. It didn't clear that one. So assuming no surprises, short and holiday, half day Wednesday, tomorrow, whatever it's going to be. Um, you know, I assume it's going to go up there and make new highs. Now, with a pattern like this, where do we go from there? Like with any pattern, this is transitioning. Excuse me, it wasn't an uptrend. It broke trend here. It regained. It broke trend again, regained, pull back, and you can kind of see a bottoming pattern here, a really erratic type of a whippy bottoming pattern there. So end of the year, beginning of a new year, end of the month, beginning of the month, usually his seasonality is good. So I think it's likely that we could get new all-time highs in the S&Ps. It's reasonable. And then we just monitor what happens from there. I think once we get into the new year, we need the main influence, I think, is going to be what happens with interest rates. And we talked about how this cleared these highs, and you can see the similar type of bottoming pattern that we saw in that 65-minute chart. You can see it here on the daily chart. And so prices have pulled back here. They're not really doing much of anything this morning. But as we go into the new year, this is where our focus is going to be, to see if these interest rates continue to push up. And you can see the 30-year already broke out above the highs. The 10-year is the one that's mostly looked at. But this is going up, and if you did notice, some of the home builders got, Lennar reported that got quite the shellacking last week. So as these interest rates, if they continue to move higher, and this is a little buy setup here, it's going to put some pressure on equities. I think, as I said, this is what we're going to be focused on to see if these continue to move up, and if the 10-year continues to move up. And if it does, probably sometime after New Year, everybody will pay attention and we'll get some kind of corrective price action. Right now, holidays, maybe get this continued little Santa Claus rally. You can see NASDAQ futures are pushing up. It got some pretty stiff resistance up there. You got two pivot highs in the same area that they'll have to deal with. But from here to here, it's basically, well, not basically, it's a void. Right? This is what we look for prices to have the ability to move up. This was a momentum move down and back up again. And so here's where the stall will be. And at that point, I like to use the analogy, that's where the heavy lifting begins. And what does it do there? Does it collapse back down? Does it go sideways? And sideways price action at that point would open up the door to higher. We'll see what happens when we get there. Risk spreads were rising also. Risk spreads. I'm not sure what that means. So, I mean, I know Dan mentioned multiple times last week that the spreads between bids and asks were wider than usual. So, and maybe that's what you're referring to. I don't know. So IWM, similar rounding bottom, and we could look at the ETF itself, but this had a little bit of a nasty pullback, deep retracement. It did move up, and interest rates, short-term interest rates came down, and that's good for this. And we'll see if that continues. The weekly chart had a stall here. I'm thinking this is going to chop around for a little while. And again, as we go into the new year after that, we'll see what happens. On a short-term basis, I think you can essentially throw a dart, to buy something, and it'll likely to go up. I don't know how much it's going to go up. Dan asked me about this for the ETF letter. I don't like setups like this particularly. I think on a short-term basis, why not? But in the ETF letter, we look to buy things that may go up for several months. Whereas this is more of it's a swing trade. It's a swing trade setup. Now, you say, well, buy it here, sell it up there, whatever. It's a trade. So, well, I don't know people in the swing trade letter, since we don't talk to each subscriber, they want to be more active as far as, buy it here, sell it up there. You'd have to go all in and maybe sell half or whatever. It's just a choice. In any event, this is starting to move up, and it looks like this has got more room than some of the others to move higher. Government bonds, high junk bond ratios. Well, yield spike is risk measured. Well, the 10-year and the 30-year went up, and we discussed that a week ago as far as inflation concerns, which I suppose they're out there with cutting interest rates, and interest rates go up because people want a better return based on that inflation belief. Or is it the economy is going to do better with all these trillions that are going to be invested? Trump says trillion here, trillion there, trillions all over the place. Jobs and all of that sounds wonderful. Let's see if it all comes to fruition next year. If it does, well, then that would make sense. And you can see the transports are near breaking out to new all-time highs. And that's in alignment with a belief that this is the ETF. I don't know, maybe this one did make a new all-time. It did. I don't think the transports itself made a new all-time high yet, but it's right up there. So, this is a positive. FedEx has been going up. JBHT has been going up. Maybe the rails. Yeah, the rails are moving up. So those are all positive signs for that. So, growth, inflation, jobs will be all into the thick of it next year. All right. Gold is making new all-time highs. Breaking out. All right, we had the buy set up here, the buy set up there. And this was the bullish price action that we talked about last week. And I would assume this is, 4,500 should be any day now. Is it going to 5,000? Maybe. Certainly looks like that's possible. Silver continues to push up. New all-time highs. Now, will Bitcoin join the party? So this is doing a retest of these pivot lows. It does have this resistance here, and you can see the bottoming action, and that looks like it's going to at least attempt to go up. And this will be definitely on the watch list to see how it deals with this resistance area. Erythium, similar, that came down a bit harder, but sometimes we like the ones that came down harder because they create larger voids. So maybe this goes up, and if you're so inclined, STR, MicroStrategies usually moves up. It's gapping up a little bit. Maybe better for a put spread for something like this, rather than a directional, since the trend is so powerfully to the downside. But this gap up is the start of something on a short-term basis that maybe it just doesn't go down here. We've got plenty of time to see if this consolidates just like Bitcoin at this resistance. And then from there, I'd be interested in the directional, and of course, looking at, some of the others, coin, it's gapping up a little bit. Well, all the stocks that tend to move with Bitcoin, I think will be shaping up. And crude oil, no bounce there. And, it's been under a lot of pressure. Just overall been a big mess and in a downtrend. There's just no interest with patterns like that. And spiders, Qs, and SPX. And you can see here, it's gapping up into a little bit of resistance there. And you can see the 65-minute chart. There was that, we talked about this price action last week, and it did go sideways. So, now it's gapping up. I think it'll go higher. So when I say, that it's not the best pattern for a rally, because it's so close to resistance. It held here. You had the wide range bar down and the gap up. So on a short-term basis, yeah, why not? And from an intraday point of view, absolutely. But it's kind of a messy pattern. The Qs look a little better. Why? Because this one came down harder. So it's got a bigger void. And let's see, that's gapping up too, and it's coming up into this resistance. So it's not the greatest pattern, as far as looking for a rally, but maybe the demand because of the holiday, then trading will be strong enough to deal with this in a constructive way, either sideways or just push up through it. And so we'll be watching to see what happens with that. And SPX coming up to resistance, this little congestion right there. And let me just double check the numbers. That's what I said before we got started. So now this has actually come up a little bit as it's rallied to 6,800. So if the market drops short term in the morning, go back to that 69, that 68, anything below 6,800. So generally, anytime you can get below a whole number, the better, and it's below yesterday's low. So, and it's gapping up here, and we'll just have to see what it does at that resistance. Now, what's the top number? Did that move? Well, big distance between 69 and 68.95. One. Now that one didn't move up. Interesting. Okay, so they're not all that enthusiastic about buying call options above that level, which would have been good. But there you have it. And overall, look, I think it's gapping up here. It shouldn't fill the gap. It might, but it shouldn't fill the gap. But 68.50, 68.50, there should be buyers, and it'll be sellers at 6,900. All yours, Dan. Mhm.
Happy Christmas week. Yeah, Greg, I just looked at Stadavo's comment. No, he wasn't talking about spreads of stocks and options. He was talking about the risk spreads between the however they measure that between the 10-year and and junk bonds is one high yield junk. Yeah, exactly. And when the spread gets narrow, that's like a sign, it's a contrarian. That's like a sign of too much people are chasing junk for return because they're not getting compensated for taking higher risk. And when the spreads widen, they're the opposite. They're more risk adverse. They're scared. Scared. Yeah, but as soon as I woke up today, and the first thing I do is turn on the TV. I just had in my head like 98% confidence that we were going to gap up. And before I turned on the TV, I was thinking we should have bought calls on Friday. But here it is. That's a nice reversal of Wednesday's. It's a little one day, little bear tantrum, and we got a void. So yeah, we're getting there. And do y'all remember Friday morning? Like within the first 10 minutes, I said, I think we're getting the start of the Santa Claus rally right now. And looks like that's playing out so far. All right, we have a lot of great setups, a lot. And unfortunately, these gaps are gonna mess them up. It's one of those days. I got a ton of alarms going off here. I'll show you, and then I'll be busy in the morning determining which ones, if we want to enter. If so, how? For example, 5-minute high, 30-minute high, and pull back in the gap fill, or if they're gapping too much, or I cancel them. So that alarm went off. If it opens at 183, that's only gapping up $1. So then that's okay. So it looks like it came in. I'll reset the alarm. I mean, I obviously prefer things not capping over the entry, not let them have a clean hit. Flex tape here, buy setup, making the turn, gapping up. I did not give that official in the letter, but it's on my list. So this one's 66, gapping there. So this one's a candidate for a 30-minute high because it's not excessive. So I'm gonna put that right here. Flex tape. Oh, LRCX bottom right. We're in this. We bought this on Friday. Looks fantastic. All-time highs. Look at that 15-minute chart. That is a picture of strength and easy to manage. The bulls are in total control. So we're in it. We're just managing it. SMH, we did a put spread on Friday. Buy setup with a beautiful 180 there. That's gapping up. I tightened the stop already to under 356. Avgo we're in another semiconductor. We did a put spread Friday, gapping up, looks good. Actually, let me move stuff break even on Avgo now. Hey, for those of you in the advisory letter, you got to go to the members area and get over to the new Telegram channel. All right, back to alarms going off with gold and silver up. Now, this one I liked, it's a bottoming pattern, bullish weekly, CDE 1921. So that one's, so I don't like entering that one. So that one, I'm gonna say, let's wait for a pullback into the gap. Looks good. This thing was a put spread, and it's fine. If you get filled. Either. I just think this could be an intelligent home run entry. You know, we got our turn on support, it's a bottoming pattern, the 20 flattening out, you got a bottoming tail retest weekly, you got a buy setup monthly. I think it's the place to nibble. So that I like. And I'm pretty sure I checked puts on it. I think it was too spready. Thomas. Yeah, one of you mentioned that. I think Thursday, one of you mentioned that Thursday or Friday, and I said I liked it. But yeah, I mean, even though it's up 3 bars, it's not extended. You got a logical place for stop for a day trade. Ether. Yeah, depending on what strike you do, it's spready, but yeah, I'll be looking to sell maybe the 24s or 24.5s. I'll watch that at the open Ether. Oh, Curto alarm went off. We sold a third pre-market. That's another beautiful turn. Turn on support. So we nailed it. We nailed the entry on Friday. And sold a third pre-market. We're in trail mode. We'll stop 30-minute low. Palantir. Closing breakout. All right, so judgment call. How do we enter this one? It's a bullish 15. Well, I think let's say maybe the same pullback. So I mean, so there's some art involved. It's not science. It's, is that an excessive gap relative to the pattern and where I think my reward to risk is? Thomas Fig. Bottoming pattern, nice 15. Yeah, it's a bottoming pattern. I'll put it on the list. Uniform. Yeah, making the turn. Gapping up 60 cents. But as a void, made 4-bar turn. Looks good. Circle. Bottoming pattern. I gave this as a put spread. Gapping up $2. So if we get filled. Call. And we're in this on the ETF ladder. Looks great. It's getting pretty cooked. So we gotta decide how we want to manage our gains. Oh, Thane is saying, oh, he's saying ETHA has better liquidity on options. Okay, thanks, Thane. I'll definitely take a look at that then. What is the difference of these two? T and G? I don't know. But yeah, thanks for that. I'm all about liquidity. Like in the green room, what's his name? That sells zero DTE options. Um, that's from Mama's House. Trent. He's from Big Mama's House. And he's always talking about selling zero DTEs on the NVIDIA leveraged stock. And that my response to him every time is, Trent, man, those spreads are nasty. Why do you not just do them on the video? Um, those look like all my alarms, gold and silver and gold and GDX and the ETF letter. So these are doing great. Let me reset alarms. And these have been fairly easy to manage. I mean, 91 new alarms, low alarm 87, 50. And that's all my alarms. Let's just go through my big interest list now. BE. Greg, remember you made the comment last week that they're going to come back for this? Like gapping up $5. Bravo X-ray. Top X, copper, gapping up with the other metals and strong. There was some news about a bunch of big pharma joining Trump's request to lower some costs. I looked at a couple of them, and this chart's not bad. Let's set the alarm at 101.50. The others, I didn't like patterns. C1 alarm. Let's see that. Now that one's too excessive for me. And I think that was on your list, but yeah, little closing breakout. I would have preferred an inside day, but the gap's messing it up. There's a Curto we talked about, and our CX we're in, looks great. That's Cliff Clavin. Cliff Clavin, slow mover. This might be a catch-up trade. Andreas, you know who Cliff Clavin is? Set alarm at 13:39. Oh shoot, alarm just went off already. Shoot. All right, Cliff Clavin. Now I gotta set it at 13:50. BST. Alex, is this on your list? Short watch. This could be a good 30-minute low, maybe. Relative weakness. I like the railroad tracks. I like the inside bars. And the Wednesday's ugly bar. And I'm going to be focused on opens and the ping trigger. Ah, Kaping, okay. I don't know. I'm not crazy about that one. FCM alarm. All right, so we're in this one. FCM. We bought Friday, so that looks great. I'll set new alarms. 179. All right, more alarms. Slob oil. I see. Yeah, oil. With Trump fooling around with Venezuela. Oil, I think, is up for that reason. FCM. All right, galore here. All right, Merck, nothing to do yet. Slob. Slob is hitting cleanly. We got Cliff Clavin went off alarm again, but I see it's at this prior high. That'd be a better 30-minute high trade now. Glob is triggering cleanly. The bull flag breakout. Thirty, 63. H Hotel is a put spread idea, but they do not have weeklies. I wanted to do the 155, 150. Let's see where that's at. Oh man, the spreads got ludicrous. Let's cancel this. They're nuts. 125 by 350. SanDisk I gave as a put spread. I liked it as a directional if we got a 1, 2, 3, but if it gaps and craps here, then I don't like it. What's wrong with LRCX? Coming in. Our cost base is 171. Shoot. Let's move stuff break even. I'm not turning that into a loss. Yeah, Qs are having a little tantrum here. The banks are strong and oil's strong, so I know oil's been beat up. If y'all want to look around in that sector. Let's see that. Breakout. Testing things here. Some, yeah, the fangs are all over the place. Apple's neutral. Meta's rallying, Tesla rallying. And the others are down, so things are very mixed. BFC, it's a buy setup, I like. Region, or RTX, I said 5 minute high. So that would be 183.34. Flex tape. Yeah, 30 minute. Let's reset the alarm, but 30 minute high maybe on flex tape. See what the cues are doing at the time. Set alarm 25. 25. I mean 65, 25. There, CNC doing better. I'm gonna stop break even now. PDE, man, I hate when the gap ruins our trade. Craig, is that gap too excessive for you?
As long as you're willing to put the stop under yesterday's low.
I know, but do you like the reward to risk? I mean, that's the easy
Looks
part.
like a pattern that could go up to the old highs. I
Okay,
don't,
well then that answered it.
if it changes tomorrow, whatever. You can buy half, buy it, see if it pulls back, put an alert under today's low and see if it pulls back to give another entry.
Nice out of a third. I moved up 30-minute low on Curto, just FYI. Pre-marking. CVLT, bottoming pattern, KMT. Yeah, yeah, it's a bull flag buy setup. Well, not it's not a flag. I take that back. You don't have the flagpole. It's just a buy setup. Looks good. Keep going. Region alarm. Um, but see if you can get a pullback. Ideally, it gives you a little buy setup. But it made the turn at the 50 minor support. Let's see, the guy said had better options. Yeah, not bad. Let's sell the 22 puts for Friday. Making 26 cents. Collection. 219. Hey, our knack is cruising. How come you didn't say anything, Alex? 223.